Sacramento Kings big man Richaun Holmes has reportedly impressed in Sacramento Kings player pickup games before training camp. Does that mean anything for his upcoming season? And more disrespect towards De'Aaron Fox? We'll talk about it on today's episode of Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. Time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all regular season and all off season. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports reporter and producer at ABC 10 News, and I reported earlier today that Richaun Holmes has impressed in his Sacramento Kings player pickups that are happening inside of the Kings practice facility. Now, if you follow the Sacramento Kings on either Twitter or Instagram, I'm not sure if they're posting on Facebook as well. They probably are, but at least Twitter and Instagram, I know for a fact the Kings social media accounts have been posting multiple pictures over the last couple of weeks of different Kings players inside the Kings practice facility, working together, shoot-arounds, doing individual work, pickup games. Now, these are not Sacramento Kings sanctioned practices. These are not, the team is not hosting these or putting these on. It's the choice of the players to be here in town and to work together to get their work into the practice facility. These are not unusual by any means. Typically, you see these happen around the league, and it's not something specific to the Sacramento Kings, although it is fantastic to see. And in these pictures, we've seen guys like Chima Maneke, De'Aaron Fox has been there basically the entire time. Kevin Huerter has been in there. Keegan Murray. Davion Mitchell has been there from the start. In fact, I have been told that Davion has really been in the Kings practice facility basically this entire summer, that he has not really done anything else but work on his game, which is not surprising for Davion as someone who is constantly working, constantly putting his head down and working on his craft. In fact, I was told also earlier around summer league time that the Kings were, for lack of a better term, bringing in people to work with Davion so that he could get his work in. But it's great to see so many current Sacramento Kings players in the gym, working together, preparing for training camp, which is coming on the 27th of September. That's when the full team will be in town. Domantas Sabonis has not been with the team because of the stuff that he's doing in FIBA, as well as the other players like Alex Len and Chimezie Metu, who have also been competing in FIBA. But for the most part, the majority of Sacramento Kings players have been here in Sacramento. That also includes Harrison Barnes, who has partaken in some of the preseason workout stuff and the preseason pickup game stuff, which is awesome to see. And I was told earlier today that Richaun Holmes has looked particularly impressive. Now, he, as far as I know, has not been with the team the entire time, or not been with the group the entire time, as long as guys like Davion or De'Aaron or Kevin or Keegan have been there working. He's recently, I don't know what that means, but recently joined the team in his pre-season pickup game workouts. And it appears that he looks really, really good. He's in great shape. He played very well in the pickup games. Now, of course, team officials are there watching, and Mike Brown has been in attendance. I'm sure Monty McNair in the front office has been in attendance. Their offices are all right above the practice court, so they can look down and see everything that is going on inside the Kings practice facility. So just because these aren't Kings sanctioned practices doesn't mean that there aren't Kings members, Kings officials, front office, team, otherwise that are there paying attention, working with the players, or at least, if nothing else, watching these pickup games as they are happening. And like I said, Richaun Holmes apparently has looked really, really good. Now, this is the time of the year where we've already had all the workout videos coming out, right, throughout the entire summer around the league, players posting their workout videos, and they all look amazing. How many videos have we seen of Domantas Sabonis and him working with the shot doctor and his three-point shot looking better? Of course, he's never going to post misses, and we could go back to years past when, like, remember Skal Labissiere looked amazing when he put on all that weight and looked really, really strong, muscle weight, and looked like he was in fantastic shape. Buddy Hield over the last couple of years has put out videos of him working, and Buddy's always been a hard worker. So my point is, we always get these videos and over the course of a summer where players look really good, right? It's like it's almost like their movie trailer for the upcoming season, showing that they're still working, that they're still in shape, and they're going into next season in the best shape of their lives, and they couldn't be feeling better. And it's meant to build their kind of personal image as well as build kind of hype around them and around the team going into the season. And I also remember a couple training camps ago when Jabari Parker was here. Jabari Parker was told, or rather Jabari's teammates, some of the Kings, told Sacramento Kings media during training camp that Jabari was the most impressive player so far in Kings training camp. Of course, he never really made the team or never really played for the team at that point. So take all of this with a grain of salt. You don't have to think that Richaun Holmes is coming in the best shape of his life, that he's never looked better, and that suddenly he is a candidate to push Domantas Sabonis to the 4 because Richaun Holmes has to start at the 5 again. That's not what this is about. So take that for what it's worth. I choose to look at it this way. If Richaun Holmes is playing well, I don't believe this is posturing by the organization. If Richaun Holmes is playing well, it's only a good thing for the Sacramento Kings. If Richaun Holmes looks good, especially coming off of the season that he had last year, it's only a good thing for the Sacramento Kings. Last year, Richaun dealt with not just all the off-the-court issues that he faced, which were monumental distractions, and forget what it did to his image, forget what it did to his season, what it did to, I'm sure, his family dynamic, what it did to his mental health. I can't even imagine. No idea. So what he went through on that part, plus the numerous eye injuries that the poor man faced during last season, it's good to hear that he, basketball-wise, is doing well. And I look forward to seeing what he actually does look like once training camp begins on the 27th. Because I've talked about this with you before, Richaun was shopped over the offseason. He was made available. He wasn't like, he was put on the trade block, but he wasn't like, the Kings weren't throwing him out there the same way like the Phoenix Suns are throwing Jay Crowder out there, right? He wasn't like, we're getting rid of this guy no matter what. Somebody please take him. It was he is available, but the price has to be there. And from what I understand, there wasn't really much of a market for Richaun Holmes. A lot of that has to do with the money that he's being paid. A lot of that has to do with the rest of the NBA market, how many teams were on hold during the Kyrie Irving / Kevin Durant sweepstakes that were going on in Brooklyn, and the blow up of the Utah Jazz that sent Rudy Gobert to Minnesota and sent Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland. Like, there are a lot of factors as to why Richaun Holmes didn't have much trade value. That doesn't mean that other teams wouldn't want Richaun Holmes on their roster. It's that he, at that particular time, or at this particular time, didn't have the trade value or the trade market that the Sacramento Kings were looking for. And look, they weren't going to just trade Richaun Holmes for nothing, because Richaun is a valuable player. Recency bias is a real thing that affects us all. But I think a lot of Kings fans have forgotten how good Richaun Holmes was that got him that starting spot, that locked down that starting spot, and that got him paid in the first place. One bad season does not erase the couple of really good seasons that he had with the Sacramento Kings. He absolutely deserved the contract that he got. Remember, he got a bargain contract for the Kings versus what he was looking for. He's no longer the starting center in Sacramento because the Kings trade for Domantas Sabonis. That's not his fault. The Kings upgraded that position, and he's kind of stuck there. I feel that Richaun is maybe the best, if not one of the best, backup centers in the NBA. Now, what does that mean? We don't really know, because we don't know how many minutes Richaun Holmes is going to play. We don't know if there are going to be scenarios where Richaun Holmes is on the floor at the same time as Domantas Sabonis. I've heard and seen many Kings fans discussing that. I personally am not the biggest fan of that, because I don't know where the floor spacing and shooting is coming from in that lineup, although maybe that's something we'll see during preseason or during training camp, and the Kings will want to take a look at that, because I believe Richaun Holmes can absolutely provide very valuable minutes. Plus, we know for a fact that Mike Brown likes Richaun Holmes, values Richaun Holmes. That's part of the reason why the Kings decided to move on from Damian Jones, or allow him to go and sign with the Los Angeles Lakers, because they believed Richaun Holmes was going to be here. And that, as far as I understood, Mike Brown didn't necessarily prefer Richaun over Damian Jones. I don't think it was something like that, but Mike Brown likes what Richaun can provide for the Sacramento Kings. His athleticism, his length. We've talked about how Richaun needs to be an overall better rebounder for the Kings, how he can be an overall better rim protector, and he might be the guy that the Kings look to the most for rim protection on this team, I think Richaun is incredibly valuable for the Sacramento Kings. Incredibly valuable. And whether it's as injury depth in the event that, knock on wood, something happens to Richaun Holmes, or rather Domantas Sabonis, whether it's Sabonis gets into foul trouble and Richaun can come in and continue to play the same way the Kings want to play, which is athletic, fast-paced. We know Richaun can play in the pick and roll. He's done so effectively. His pick and roll game is going to be different than like a Fox and Sabonis pick and roll game. And the Kings are going to run a lot of the offense through Domantas Sabonis in the high and low post. I don't know necessarily if you can get away doing that with Richaun Holmes, but Richaun can run the floor. He's an athletic big. You saw how well he played in the pick and roll with Tyrese Halliburton. Would love to see that chemistry develop between Holmes and De'Aaron Fox at some point, or Holmes and Davion Mitchell off of the bench. It's only a good thing to hear a report like this. And again, the report is not saying that Richaun looks better than anybody else on the team. The report is not saying that Richaun is suddenly in the mix for the starting center job or a starting job, period. Although I'm sure Richaun feels that way. He's going into training camp saying, this is my spot. I worked hard for that spot. And I'm not going to just roll over and let someone take it from me, even if they traded for a two-time All-Star. That's the expectation. That's the mindset that I want Richaun Holmes to have. And that's the mindset that I believe he does have. He's a competitor. He's a fighter. He's fought and scratched and clawed for everything that he's earned in his basketball career. So I'm okay with this. We don't have to read too far into it. We don't have to roll our eyes at it. Hopefully it's accurate and not inaccurate. Hopefully it's real and not posturing by the organization. Again, I don't think it's posturing because I don't know how much the organization has to gain from posturing and making Richaun Holmes look great. The trade market for him is already non-existent, and he's going to be a King going into next season. So posturing doesn't really do much at this point in time. If it were around the trade deadline and the Kings were posturing like this, okay, maybe. If it was earlier in the offseason and the Kings were posturing like this, okay, maybe. Right now, I think it's just from the people who have told me, I think it's just, wow, we saw Richaun Holmes in pickup games. He looks really good. We're excited about what he can do and how he can be a part of this team and how Mike Brown can use him and his teammates to ultimately win games in Sacramento. That's how I interpret it. How do you feel about it? Let me know at MattGeorgeSack on Twitter. Email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com, or leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. Coming up next, CBS Sports put out their point guard rankings, and De'Aaron Fox, boy, I don't know what De'Aaron did to piss off CBS or whoever put this list together, but we'll talk about it after I tell you about a great sponsor here of the Locked On Kings podcast, a longtime sponsor now going into another season, that is Bet Online. And Bet Online is the #1 source for all your pro and college football betting needs right now and sports info this upcoming basketball season. Find all the latest football and basketball league developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, including all of the games happening in the NFL and college football right now, the opening week of the NBA season, even NBA preseason coming up in less than a month. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. They have a bunch of fun prop and future bets. In regards to the Sacramento Kings, you can bet on Keegan Murray to win Rookie of the Year. You can bet on the Kings over-under win totals. You can bet on the Kings odds to win the NBA Finals. It's all available right now for you on Bet Online. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including the MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action at Bet Online, where the game starts. Stop me if you've heard this before this summer. The start of this season is extremely important for De'Aaron Fox, right? I probably have said that sentence at least double-digit times, probably 20-plus times this summer, right? So we don't need to rehash that. We don't need to go over that again. You know, we know, the Kings know, De'Aaron Fox knows, right? But CBS Sports put out their top point guards in the NBA list. And as soon as I read this list, I saw the list, thankfully, on social media before I saw any of the Kings fan responses to the list. But even before seeing the Kings fan responses to the list, I knew that this list was not going to be fair. Or I knew that this list was going to be disrespectful towards De'Aaron. Like, I knew it. It's been trending that way for a while. De'Aaron's coming off of a down year. Everybody kind of throws away or never paid attention to what De'Aaron did after Domantas Sabonis came to Sacramento. De'Aaron finishing the season averaging 30 points a game. Not for the season, but he averaged basically 30 points or right around 30 points. Shot almost 40% from three-point range, or around 40% from three-point range from the Domantas Sabonis trade onward. And of course, finished the season out due to injury, as did Domantas Sabonis. People kind of threw that out, right? They didn't really look at that when dissecting the De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton trade. And it could not be more clear that people just continue to dismiss De'Aaron Fox because he's still a member of the Sacramento Kings by the fact that on this list, Tyrese Halliburton is ranked higher than De'Aaron Fox. Again, I'm not surprised. I'm not. This is the national perspective on point guards in the NBA. And Tyrese Halliburton is a young, darling point guard in the NBA. He captured a lot of attention his rookie season with how well he played. He's an extremely likable young man. So it doesn't surprise me that so many people are higher on Tyrese Halliburton than they are on De'Aaron Fox. But I will say what I've said multiple times. If De'Aaron Fox played in maybe any other city but Sacramento, he'd be much higher on this list. De'Aaron Fox is partially responsible, of course, for the continued struggles here in Sacramento, but De'Aaron Fox is in many ways a product of his environment. De'Aaron Fox's ranking as a point guard around the NBA is affected significantly by the organization he plays for and the fact that that organization hasn't been good, not just in the time that he's been here, but in the decade before he was here. Like, think about it. De'Aaron Fox has only been here for what this is year 6, right? Is that right? 5, 6, something around that. For 6 of the 16 seasons that the Kings haven't made the playoffs, 10 of the 16 seasons that the Kings have missed the playoffs, De'Aaron Fox had nothing to do with this organization. But because De'Aaron is the leader of an organization that now has the longest playoff drought in NBA history, or longest active playoff drought, suddenly it's on Fox. It's Fox's fault because he's the face of a losing organization. So here's this list, right? For most part, the top of this list doesn't surprise me, doesn't bother me. Top 5 are Steph, Luka, Ja, Dame, Trey. I have an issue with Ja being that high. I do. I think Ja is benefiting from being an exciting, flashy, aggressive, emotional point guard. Ja does deserve to be in the top 10, in my opinion, but not as high as 3. He's ahead of guys like, I mentioned, Dame and Trey. He's ahead of CP3, who's 6. James Harden, who's 7. I don't really consider James Harden a point guard, but I guess they do. Drew Holiday, who's 8. Kyrie, who's 9. You have Jamal Murray, who's 10, even though Jamal has barely played over the last couple seasons. Here's one that's interesting. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 11. Now, you've heard me say, I'm high on Shai. I really like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I would consider right now, if you told me, hey, you can swap De'Aaron Fox for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I'd seriously consider it. And I've been consistent with that. I'm a really big fan of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I am. He also has barely played because of injuries recently. When he has played, he's looked really good for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who also are a really, really bad franchise. Not his fault, just the state that they're in, where they value picks more than players at this point in time. Plus, we just found out today, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is hurt right now, so he will be out for at least the beginning of Oklahoma City training camp. I actually hope Shai gets to play this season because I want to see him play because he's one of my favorite players in the league to watch. But Shai being ranked 11 when De'Aaron Fox is 22, Shai being 11 whole point guards ahead of De'Aaron Fox is criminal. Come on. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a good player. There are many things that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does that De'Aaron Fox has done and done better at times in Sacramento, but because it's Sacramento, it's thrown aside or it's not paid attention to. After Shai, it's Fred VanVleet. It's Darius Garland. Okay. It's LaMelo Ball, Cade Cunningham. It's CJ McCollum. I think that's what CJ is. CJ McCollum, who I also don't think is a point guard. He's more of a 2. Marcus Smart, Tyrese Maxey, Halliburton, Brunson, Fox. Fox is literally at the bottom or close to the bottom of this list at 22. It's disrespectful, and it's not surprising. Like, De'Aaron Fox is better than Brunson. He's better than Halliburton. He's better than Maxey. Defensively, he's not better than Smart. I'm actually okay with Smart. I would move Smart up this list, and I would have Smart and Fox right in the same category. And if Smart was ahead of Fox because he was part of a NBA Finals team and how important he is to that team, you know what? Okay, De'Aaron Fox is a million times better offensive player than Marcus Smart is, but offense isn't everything. Smart is a leader. He's defensive player of the year. Like, Marcus Smart is a damn good player. So I'm okay with Smart being ahead of Fox. I think both of them should be higher on the list. Fox is better than CJ. Like, CJ is a very solid, has had a very solid career, good floor spacer, great three-point shooter, obviously a better three-point shooter than De'Aaron Fox is, but CJ has always been number 2. Maybe I think right now in New Orleans, he's at best number 3, right? Maybe even number 4. Like, Fox is better than CJ. Fox is better than Cade Cunningham. Come on. Cade Cunningham is the exciting first overall pick, young point guard who started the season kind of banged up, then looked really, really good. Like, Cade Cunningham, there's a bright future for him in Detroit, right? Cade Cunningham is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 point guards better than De'Aaron Fox in a ranking. Give me a break. LaMelo Ball, I still think it's kind of young recency bias, but I'm okay with LaMelo Ball and De'Aaron Fox being pretty close because of the numbers that LaMelo puts up. Okay, I can stomach that. Darius Garland, okay, can stomach that. Fred VanVleet, okay, can stomach that. Jamal Murray has looked really good when he's played, but hasn't played in a while. I would take De'Aaron over Jamal at this point in time. That's just my opinion. And then Kyrie, Drew, Harden, CP3, Trey, Dame. Yeah, all of them above De'Aaron. I'm fine with that. Fox should not be 22 on this list. At worst, he should be 14. That's where Fox deserves to be. But again, I'm just barking up a tree that all Kings fans are barking up at this point. The ultimate point is this will not change until De'Aaron Fox and the Kings change it. So you could get mad about it. You could get frustrated with it, like I've done here over the last couple of minutes. Or you could just accept the fact that this is what the optics are of the Sacramento Kings organization that are never going to change until the Kings change them. So as much pressure as De'Aaron Fox is under this season to help the Sacramento Kings win, if he accomplishes that by getting the Sacramento Kings to win, not only is he immortalized here in Sacramento, which we all know, I mean, we're ready. We're all out there we've been ready for 5-6 years with our hammers and nails out there ready to carve and chisel a statue of De'Aaron Fox to put outside of the Golden One Center, right? We all believe that De'Aaron was going to be the guy to save this organization and to lead this organization back to the promised land. And that's something that De'Aaron has said multiple times is important to him. He wants to be that guy. Okay. This year is in many years a put up or shut up year. Not only will he be immortalized here in Sacramento, if he does it, he will become a household name around the NBA. Like he would be a household name if he were in other cities. And I stand by what I've said again a million times. Once De'Aaron, once De'Aaron gets the stage, gets the opportunity that John Morant has gotten or other young point guards have gotten in the play-in or playoffs or whatever it is, once De'Aaron gets to play in a game like that, he's going to succeed. He's going to excel. The most important game of his basketball career, he absolutely destroyed UCLA. That's not a coincidence. He will show his stardom, I believe, this season. I think he's going to get off to a great start this season. I think he knows how important it is. And once the Kings play in a play-in/playoff scenario this year, I think we're going to see the side of De'Aaron Fox that we've all been waiting for and that the league, I guess, doesn't think exists anymore. Rankings are rankings. Whether De'Aaron uses it as fuel to his fire or not, we'll have to wait and see. But it doesn't surprise me. Just a heads up, I said that I would be giving away a pair of Sacramento Kings opening night tickets if Locked On Kings got to over 250 reviews on Apple Podcasts. And of course, we did that. And the summer has been so successful for this podcast. I'm so thankful for that it's only right that I, of course, follow up with that promise that I made. So I do have a pair of lower bowl tickets, section 116, Kings versus Blazers on, October 17th, opening night, whatever it is, opening night tickets, lower bowl, Kings Blazers, section 116. I have them. They're in my possession, and I'm going to be giving them away. Now, the way you can enter yourself into getting these tickets, whether you left a review or not, you can go on Twitter. You have to be on Twitter, unfortunately, is the only way that I could really do it. So you can create a Twitter account really, really quickly. If there really is an issue with you being on Twitter for any means, just send me an email. We'll talk about it. But I put out the tweet and I pinned it on the top of my Twitter profile. So you will absolutely see it. And it has a picture of the view that you will have from your seat on opening night. And all you have to do is reply to the tweet just with a picture or video or kind of short story or memory of you being a Kings fan. Doesn't have to be of you. Could be of your favorite moment. Could be anything. You get entered in. I'm not choosing the winner myself. A third party. I have not worked this out yet. I don't know who's going to be doing it or how it's going to be done, but a third party will be picking the winner. So I actually don't have anything to do with it other than me physically having the tickets and giving the tickets to whoever wins. But I'm looking forward to treating you all two of you rather to the opening night game. And I will be giving those tickets away. I think October 15th is the day that I said that I will be actually giving them away. Yeah, winner selected on October 15th. So go. You have plenty of time to respond to the tweet and to enter. And I hope you listening, I hope you the one that wins. I hope I am able to treat you to opening night Kings versus Blazers inside the Golden One Center. Really appreciate your support as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of the Locked On Kings podcast. Coming up, I want to talk about the significance of the wing position here in Sacramento. Of course, we've talked about it before, but I really want to dive into how I think the wings are going to be the difference between success and just status quo for the Sacramento Kings next season. We'll talk about that in a future episode of Locked On Kings, plus more great guests coming. Can't wait to have you join me for that. Until then, my name is Matt George. You have been listening to Locked On Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.